Be sure to give the video a thumbs up, share your insights in the comments, and subscribe to keep up with our newest narratives. Never did I imagine I would be in this situation, facing my husband's boss, my fingers clutching a cup of coffee that had long lost its warmth, my heart racing so fiercely I could hear it echoing in my ears. The words he had just uttered hung in the air between us, dense and weighty, transforming everything I believed I understood about my marriage, my husband, and the life we had painstakingly constructed over the past 35 years. Allow me to take a step back for a moment. William is the name I go by. At 59 years of age, I find myself reflecting on a life spent in the warm embrace of marriage to Logan, a man I once considered my ideal counterpart. Our paths crossed in college, and we embarked on the journey of marriage at a tender age, crafting a life side by side. Together, we nurtured 2 children and navigated the inevitable tempests that accompany a lasting bond. Logan had consistently demonstrated an unwavering work ethic, dedicated to ensuring our family's well-being. Though our marriage had its imperfections, my faith in his loyalty and the solid foundation we had established never wavered. Everything shifted on the evening of the company gala. It was one of those opulent corporate gatherings that Logan's company orchestrated annually, featuring sumptuous dinners, an abundance of champagne, and speeches that seemed to stretch on interminably. Over the years, I found myself at countless events, consistently embodying the role of the supportive wife, offering polite smiles to acquaintances I hardly recognized as Logan engaged in handshakes and business discussions. This year unfolded in a manner unlike any other. A subtle change lingered in the atmosphere, an elusive sensation that danced just beyond my grasp. Perhaps it was the manner in which others regarded me, filled with pity, curiosity, and a touch of hesitation. Perhaps it was the manner in which Logan appeared, aloof and remote. He had always exuded charisma at these gatherings, yet that evening he appeared lost in thought, his attention elsewhere, and his smile seemed strained. I had intended to dismiss it, to set aside the persistent discomfort churning within me, until Logan's superior Luke took me aside. In his early 60s, Alan commanded respect, his salt and pepper hair framing a visage that exuded a quiet authority. Our interactions had always been marked by a polite exchange of pleasantries at these gatherings, yet we had never ventured into a dialogue that transcended the realm of customary small talk. That night, however, he regarded me with a glimmer of something unusual in his gaze, a hint of what seemed almost like regret. "William," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, "would you mind stepping outside with me for a moment? There's something I need to discuss with you." I paused, my gaze sweeping the room. Logan engaged in animated dialogue with a circle of executives, their laughter echoing from a joke that had eluded my ears. For a fleeting moment, I pondered whether he had perceived his boss drawing me away, yet he never cast a glance my way. I trailed behind Alan as we stepped onto the balcony, where the cool night air enveloped us, a sharp contrast to the warmth that lingered in the ballroom. The city sprawled before us, its lights shimmering against the inky sky, yet I found it difficult to savor the sight. My nerves were frayed, taut with anticipation. "What is this about, Alan?" I inquired, my tone unwavering even as a sense of unease began to settle in my chest. He let out a slow breath, his hand moving to the back of his neck as if he were sifting through thoughts for the perfect expression. "William, I wouldn't share this with you if I didn't believe you deserved to know. And I need you to grasp that my intention isn't to meddle in your marriage, but I can no longer remain silent about this." A knot tightened in my stomach. "Keep quiet about what?" Alan paused, his eyes locking onto mine with a weighty seriousness. "Logan has been concealing something from you, something significant." The ground felt as though it shifted ever so slightly beneath my feet. I clutched the railing tightly, my knuckles turning pale with tension. "Alan, if you have something to say, just say it." He let out a heavy sigh before uttering the words that would set everything in motion. "I know about her." For a brief instant, his words hung in the air, leaving me momentarily bewildered. The words seemed alien, fragmented, akin to puzzle pieces that refused to align. Yet, as the quiet lingered in the air, a moment of clarity emerged. "No," I replied instinctively, shaking my head. "You're mistaken." Alan regarded me with a hint of sympathy in his gaze. I longed to be. The earth seemed to vanish from beneath my feet, my breath caught in my throat, and for a fleeting moment I feared I might crumble. "Who?" The question slipped from my lips with barely a whisper. After a moment of uncertainty, he finally uttered her name, a name that stirred a flicker of familiarity, a name that dismantled the illusion I had clung to for decades. I remained composed, not at that moment, not in Alan's presence. I turned and walked away, my thoughts swirling, my heart pounding fiercely. When I finally located Logan in the ballroom, he was immersed in laughter with his colleagues, a glass of whiskey cradled in his hand, oblivious to the seismic shift that had just occurred beneath me. In that instant, clad in my graceful evening gown and enveloped by the joyous sounds of laughter and music, a chilling realization washed over me. I found myself questioning the very essence of the man I had wed, uncertain if I had truly known him at all. The details of how I navigated the remainder of the gala escaped me. All was a haze. The clinking of glasses, the soft murmur of conversation, and the sporadic bursts of laughter seemed to drift away, distant echoes from the turmoil that churned within me. I maintained a facade of calm, my features betraying nothing, yet deep within, I was coming apart at the seams. Logan remained utterly unaware. He smiled, he networked, he made his rounds as the quintessential executive, while I remained there, submerged in the insights Alan had just imparted to me. Another woman entered the scene. I found myself stealing glances at Logan, probing for any sign, guilt, hesitation, perhaps a fleeting recognition that he was aware of the truth I had just uncovered. Yet there was an absence of anything. He exuded his usual smoothness, and that awareness only deepened my unease. If he had been concealing this, for how long had he been engaged in such a ruse? How could I have been so oblivious? The journey back was steeped in an oppressive quiet. Logan, a bit tipsy from the whiskey, radiated joy, tapping his fingers on the steering wheel, as if the weight of the world had lifted from his shoulders. As I settled into the passenger seat, my gaze drifted out towards the shadowy stretch of road, a whirlwind of questions swirling through my mind. At last, I found myself unable to contain it any further. I conversed with Alan this evening, my tone meticulously measured. Logan let out a soft chuckle. Indeed, he is quite a decent fellow. Though he may come across as somewhat intense, his intentions are genuinely good. I glanced over at him, probing for any hint of discomfort. He shared an intriguing insight with me. In that instant, his fingers came to a halt upon the wheel. It was a fleeting moment, merely a half-second pause, yet I noticed it. "What is that?" he inquired, his voice relaxed, excessively informal. I took a deep breath. He claimed to possess knowledge of her. For the first time that night, I glimpsed it, the fissure in his flawless exterior. There it was, a delicate nuance in his expression, barely perceptible yet undeniably present. His jaw clenched, his hold on the steering wheel grew firmer, and for an instant, I caught a glimpse of something shimmering in his gaze. Terror. He breathed out sharply through his nostrils, then released a strained laugh. Alan has consistently had a penchant for sharing the latest tidbits of information. You're aware of how these workplace whispers circulate. Refrain from that action, Logan. To my surprise, my voice held a steadiness I hadn't anticipated. Do not dismiss this lightly. I seek to uncover the truth. He let out a weary sigh, his fingers pressing against his temple, conveying that this conversation was more a burden than a pleasure. William, let's not delay. Our journey together has spanned 35 years of marriage. Do you honestly believe I would engage in such an act? In that instant, a profound shift occurred within me. Would you care to? My voice had taken on a sharper edge, infused with an emotion I hadn't experienced in ages. Anger. At this moment, I find myself at a loss for thoughts. Uncertainty clouds my judgment. Yet, I am certain that Alan would not have taken the time to speak with me unless there was a compelling reason behind it. Logan's lips formed a narrow line. His silence resonated more profoundly than any spoken phrase. The remainder of the journey home felt stifling. As we rolled into the driveway, I exited the car before he had a chance to switch off the engine. I entered the house with purpose, the sharp sound of my heels echoing against the tile floor as I navigated toward the kitchen. I craved an anchor, a tangible presence, a truth I could grasp. I filled a glass with water, yet my trembling hands betrayed me, preventing me from taking even a single sip. A moment later, Logan entered the kitchen, his expression taut, his eyes deeper in hue than they had been. He rested against the counter, arms crossed in a casual yet contemplative stance. Are you truly eager to embark on this journey at this moment? He inquired. A harsh laugh escaped my lips. Absolutely not, Logan. I think it would be best to save our conversation about your affair for our 40th anniversary dinner. He flinched ever so slightly, yet I noticed it. Who is this enigmatic figure? My voice was soft yet resolute. He averted his gaze, fixating on the marble countertop as though the solution lay etched within the stone itself. William. He let out a weary sigh. It's not as you perceive it. I brought my glass down with a forceful thud. So please enlighten me about it. At this moment, it appears quite convincingly that my husband has not been truthful with me. The quiet lingered in the air between us. At last he found his voice. The situation is intricate. A hollow laugh escaped my lips. Indeed, I can imagine it is. He swept a hand through his hair, appearing more weary than I had ever witnessed him before. She is a colleague of mine. It is not. It isn't an affair, at least not in the manner you might be imagining, not quite as I envision it. I uttered again, my voice trembling. So, Logan, what perspective should I adopt regarding this matter? He paused, and that pause pierced deeper than anything else. I never intended for it to unfold this way, he finally admitted. It unfolded unexpectedly. Simply unfolded as if by chance. It stood before me, a sight to behold. The affirmation, a biting, intense ache lodged itself in my chest. A sensation I understood would linger for an extended period. What is the duration? I inquired, scarcely aware of the sound that emerged from my lips. Logan took a deep breath, savoring the moment before releasing it slowly. Approximately a year? 1 year. A full year steeped in deceit. A full year of his return to me, sharing moments at the dinner table, exchanging goodnight kisses, all while another woman lingered in the shadows of our lives. Tears threatened to spill from my eyes, yet I held them back with unwavering resolve. Who is this enigmatic figure? I inquired once more. Logan's shoulder drooped, a silent testament to the weight he bore. She is known as Alexander. Alexander. The name resonated within me, both strange and recognizable. The name was familiar to me. She had graced the gala with her presence tonight. I had laid my eyes upon her, a woman in her mid-40s, exuding an allure that is both refined and professional. I had even praised her dress. All the while, she had been sharing my husband's bed. I inhaled deeply, my fingers clutching the edge of the counter as I sought to find my balance. Is your heart drawn to her? Logan's head jerked upward, his eyes filled with astonishment. Thyan, let's go. I cherish you deeply. My affection for you has always been unwavering. Yet she was the one you desired. He remained silent. There was no obligation on his part. The truth lingered in the air, suspended between us, undeniable and inescapable. I averted my gaze, sensing a profound change within me, one that felt irrevocable. For 35 years, I dedicated myself to constructing a life alongside this man, holding steadfast to the belief in the foundation we had forged together. And now, in the course of a single night, that foundation had splintered beneath my feet. For the very first time, uncertainty gripped me, leaving me to ponder whether it could ever be mended. The stillness that enveloped us bore a weight that mere words could never convey. The burden of his revelation settled heavily upon my chest, constricting my breath. For 35 years I devoted myself to this man, placing my trust in him, convinced that our bond was strong, unbreakable. And yet, here we found ourselves. Logan adjusted his stance, letting out a breath through his nostrils, as though preparing himself for yet another barrage of inquiries. Yet I found myself devoid of any, in that moment at least not at all. I averted my gaze from him, my fingers clutching the smooth, cold surface of the kitchen counter. The sound of his breathing reached my ears from behind, wavering and uncertain. It dawned on me just how foreign that felt. Logan exuded an unwavering confidence, a steadfast sense of control that seemed to define him. William, if you would be so kind, he began, his voice now a gentle whisper. I shut my eyes. I require a breath of fresh air. I seized my coat and strode out the back door, not pausing for his reply. The chill of the night enveloped me, yet I embraced it with open arms. The biting cold pressed against my skin, anchoring me, preventing me from being swept away by the tempest of feelings swirling within. I stepped onto the patio, gazing out at the garden that Logan and I had nurtured together over the years. The hydrangeas had long since surrendered their vibrant blooms, their desiccated petals whispering in the breeze. A solitary porch light bathed the yard in a warm golden hue, transforming the once familiar landscape into something unexpectedly strange. How many nights had I lingered in this place, oblivious to the other existence he was navigating? Echoes of footsteps trailing in my wake. I refrained from turning. I never wanted to hurt you, Logan said softly. A harsh laugh escaped my lips. Your talent for crafting language has always shone through. A moment of stillness. It was never my intention to replace you, William. I pivoted, my arms folded tightly against the chill in the air. So, Logan, what was it all about? Share your thoughts, for I am eager to grasp the essence of your perspective. He paused, his hand gliding over his face in a moment of uncertainty. He appeared more aged than he had merely hours before. I don't know, he confessed. I long to provide a more satisfying response, yet I find myself at a loss. simply unfolded as if by chance. I gently shook my head, a subtle gesture of disbelief. Indeed, Logan, it was not a mere coincidence. A decision was rendered. Throughout the past year, you navigated a myriad of choices. Each word, each deception, every second shared with her was a deliberate decision. He recoiled at my words, yet chose not to contest them. I inhaled deeply, attempting to calm the quiver that threatened my voice. Have you ever pondered my existence? Who are we? His eyes clouded with a deep sense of regret. Indeed, I did so without fail day after day. So, what was it that made that insufficient? Logan gulped, a knot forming in his throat. I'm uncertain. The wind bore the stillness that lingered between us, enveloping me in a manner reminiscent of an unwelcome embrace. I redirected my attention to the yard once more. Alan shared another thought with me this evening. Logan tensed. What is this? For a moment I paused. To utter it aloud would breathe life into its existence. Yet, in truth, it had already taken form. He mentioned that she is expecting a child. The ground felt unsteady beneath me as I uttered those words. Logan's expression froze, a mask of silence enveloping him. His complexion faded to a ghostly hue. That was the final affirmation I sought. A quick breath slipped from my lips, and I pressed my hand to my mouth, as though that simple gesture could contain the overwhelming surge of anguish that engulfed me. Oh my goodness, I murmured. Indeed it is. Logan's hands balled into tight fists at his sides. William. Negative. My voice was ragged, fractured. Silence is golden. Not at this moment. I stepped back, creating distance between us, for I found it necessary. For if I allowed him to approach any nearer, uncertainty loomed over my next move. Logan appeared as though he was on the brink of a dispute, yearning to implore, to extend his hand towards me. Yet he chose not to. Perhaps he understood that this was the moment when words would prove utterly inadequate. Tears stung my eyes, yet I stood resolute, unwilling to let them cascade down my cheeks. I require solitude, I murmured, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. He made no move to halt me as I pivoted and stepped through the door. I continued my stride until I arrived at our bedroom, the space we had inhabited together for more than 30 years, a place that now seemed to belong to someone else entirely. I closed the door softly, leaning against it as the weight of reality enveloped me. My husband had deceived me, and now another woman was bearing his child. At that moment I found myself at a complete loss, uncertain of the path forward. Time seemed to stretch infinitely as I remained there, my back firmly against the door, each breath a deliberate, measured intake. My thoughts swirled in chaos, my feelings entwined in knots that felt impossible to unravel. For 35 years, Logan had been my partner, my unwavering support, my sanctuary. In a single night, the foundation had splintered, exposing the delicate earth below. Yet, what unsettled me the most wasn't merely the treachery. It was the inescapable reality that my existence was on the brink of transformation for all time. I finally moved, approaching the bed that had been our shared refuge for decades. The sheets lay undisturbed from the previous night, the subtle imprint of his form lingering, faint yet discernible. I glided my fingers over the fabric, savoring its gentle softness and inviting warmth. It had forever served as my refuge, yet now it seemed unfamiliar. A soft rap echoed against the door. I remained silent. Moments slipped by, and then Logan's voice emerged, tentative and laden with feeling. William, may we have a moment to converse? I inhaled deeply, seeking calmness within. I found myself unprepared. Yet deep down, I understood that evasion was not an option for eternity. With deliberate steps, I made my way across the room and gently pushed the door open. Logan lingered in that moment, his expression etched with fatigue, his shoulders burdened by an overwhelming sense of remorse. In his hands rested a small aged photograph, capturing a moment from our wedding day. "I never stopped loving you," he murmured gently. I gazed upon the photograph, a still moment capturing two souls brimming with hope, love, and the promise of what could be. They were nearly unrecognizable to me now. I let out a breath, my head shaking in disbelief. "If your love for me was genuine, why did it fall short?" He gulped. "I longed to provide a solution that could ease this pain. Yet I find myself without one." A knot tightened in my throat. "She is expecting Logan. That is not an issue we can simply overlook." He nodded, his eyes brimming with an emotion that resembled fear. "I understand." Silence lingered between us, heavy with the burden of all that remained unspoken. At last, I uttered the words that had lingered on my tongue ever since I uncovered the truth. "What is it that you wish to pursue?" His expression transformed. Ambivalence, sorrow, perhaps even a sense of loss. "I don't know," he confessed. A harsh laugh escaped my lips. "Indeed I do." Logan tensed. "Diane," I interjected, "I am worthy of more than what I am currently experiencing. I am worthy of more than a partner who is uncertain about his feelings for me, or the mother of his unborn child." A flicker of pain crossed his features, yet I remained unmoved. "For 3.5 decades, I have remained steadfast by your side. I have cherished you deeply. I have made sacrifices for you, and this is the outcome I receive in exchange." Though my voice faltered, I pressed on undeterred. "I shall not plead for your affection, Logan. I refuse to battle for someone who never stood up for me." His lips parted, a silent protest ready to escape, yet the truth lingered in his eyes. He was aware of my correctness. I squared my shoulders, rising to a height I hadn't felt in hours. "I require some distance, and I require some time. Above all, what I seek is respect. I refuse to linger in a place where my worth is unrecognized." Emotion brimmed in his eyes, yet he gave a solemn nod. "I comprehend." I took a step back, my fingers clutching the door frame tightly. "Perhaps it would be best for you to depart this evening." His face contorted with a whirlwind of feelings, yet he refrained from resisting me. He offered a brief nod, then turned and strode away. As I shut the door behind him, an odd occurrence unfolded. For the first time that night, I felt a sense of buoyancy, as if the weight of the world had momentarily lifted from my shoulders. At last, I sensed the freedom to inhale deeply. Time slipped away month by month. Logan settled into a modest apartment on the other side of town. The divorce papers had been submitted, and while the pain was palpable, oh, how it stung. I was certain it was the correct choice. There were nights when the solitude seeped in, murmuring uncertainties into my ear. Yet, those nights dwindled, and the dawns emerged with increasing brilliance. I reconstructed my essence, fragment by fragment. Long walks became my refuge. Books I had previously overlooked found their way back into my hands, and friendships, once dimmed by the fog of marriage, began to rekindle. And gradually, I discovered something I hadn't known was missing: me. For in the final analysis, I was more than merely Logan's wife. I was known as William, and that sufficed.